like, do you feel like now, I mean, obviously Canada is where you're from, but do you feel like Taiwan is more of your home than Canada is?
I want to say yes and no because I've always really struggled with language. So one of the hard parts for me is I do speak some Chinese, but it's almost embarrassing to say that it's not what it could or should be, my language abilities. And I would say I do rely a great deal on my wife with language, and so I think that's still to some point it's kind of I don't know, it's a weird feeling, like, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing in the sense that who needs to understand and hear what everyone around you is saying all the time? Maybe that's beautiful to kinda live in your own little bubble where you don't really know what everyone's talking about. Maybe you can feel more at peace with life when you don't understand people, but then when you're trying to explain yourself and you can't communicate, then it becomes a curse because people don't understand you as well. So I guess I feel like although Taiwan feels solidly like my home, I do get homesick for Canada because of the language sometimes, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's a big piece of it, right? That communication. If you don't have like solid communication, it can be an isolating feeling as well. Like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
analogy was like being in a bit of a bubble. I felt that way when I moved to Colombia. I was there for like 9 months over a couple of different trips. That's where my fiance is from, so it was a similar type of
Ah.
motivation for me. I had a partner from there, and all of her family, they don't really speak English. And Colombia in general is maybe more like Taiwan in the 1999, where no one really speaks English. Like I think the percentage of English speakers in Colombia is like 5%. So
Wow,
if you
okay.
want to do anything, you got to know Spanish. And when I got there, my Spanish was not great. And so little things like, okay, we have this apartment together, but like I want to go out and like buy some stuff at the grocery store. It felt intimidating to me to do that on my own. Like, oh, I don't want to go out and they're gonna like ask me questions at the cashier and I won't understand how to pay, and like I don't know like any of the social norms and stuff. And so I spent the first trip of like 4 months really felt like I was locked up in my apartment. Like I couldn't go anywhere without help. And it did feel isolating. It got better on the second trip for sure because my Spanish got a little bit better. And I mean, the more time you spend in a country, the more you kind of learn how to do the things that you need to do to live life. But yeah, I totally can relate with that. Language can either really connect you to people if you speak it well, or it can really disconnect you when you don't speak it well, right?
Yeah, well, it's like I can get by like you were saying, like my Chinese is at a level where I can order food and I can do the basic things that you would need to do. But I'm also a person, like I have my channel. I like to interview people, and part of why I started my YouTube channel of interviewing people was being able to speak my own language and have like intimate conversations with people, and kind of longing for that. But the ability of with my Chinese language skills is not, I can't have intimate deep conversations with locals here, and that makes you feel displaced sometimes, or it takes away something,
Yeah.
so
Part of your
I
personality,
really,
maybe.
yeah, like I want the people here, like, and body language goes far, right? But only to a point, and I'm grateful, as we were talking about smartphones and technology, I'm so grateful for translation apps, because that's allowed me now, without my wife around, to have kind of broken conversations using my translation app that I can now connect with people. But then what if the translation app occasionally says something that ends up being a rude translation that isn't correct, which happens, and they're looking at me like, what? And I'm like, oh, buhao sorry, this is, I think it's not translating properly. So there's still a barrier even with the translation app. So yeah, the language is a hard one.
Yeah, and especially if you're an expressive person and you want to get to deeper conversations. That's harder to do artificially, or it's also just hard to reach that level in a foreign language. Period, right? And
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chinese is notorious for being a difficult language to learn. Like, what are some of the challenges that you encounter when learning Chinese?
The tones, probably. We have this and it's like ma 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 ma, and the ma that I just said means like four different words depending on what tone you use. So, maybe I'm swearing at someone accidentally because I used the tone was off instead of asking, like I guess the tones are a big one for me. And I think, part of the problem is teaching English. You're in an English environment where they don't want you to practice Chinese, so you can't practice there. And then when I'm home, English has always been an easier way for my wife to communicate with me. So we're speaking English at home. My two boys use English with me most of the time and Chinese with my wife. So my only opportunity really to practice would be with Taiwanese friends who want to practice their English, or when you go to the market or somewhere where you're buying food, speaking to the locals that way. But it doesn't happen enough that it's a lot. Like basically, I have to, if I want to get better, I have to literally force myself to go out of my way to speak. Otherwise, living here in English is actually a doable experience, which is unfortunate. You can become lazy, is what I'm saying, to learn the language.
And I think that that exists in every country too. Like, I think sometimes people assume, okay, if you want to learn a language, you need like an immersion experience. And yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So like, oh, I just need to go to another country. I'll have that immersion experience, and then just through osmosis, in a year, I'll be fluent in this language. And it's like, yeah, it is more complicated than that, isn't it? Like, in most places, in the world, a little bit of English goes a long way. And, we live in this kind of global community where you can find other foreigners who might be English speakers. You can surround yourself with a community of people from home, and you don't necessarily find yourself in an immersion experience even in a foreign country, right? I don't think that's an unusual experience at all to move somewhere and be like, you know what? I can kind of just get by with English. Like, this kind of works really well.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so,
even
yeah,
in I was gonna say even in Canada, right? You have Chinatown. A lot of people immigrate to Canada. Maybe they're from China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and they can literally live within their own Asian community and not speak English well, but they can live in that environment very easily.
yeah.
So I'm just agreeing with you that it is easy to fall into that, and I think you have to force yourself out of your comfort zone if you want to improve in a language.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whether you learn it abroad or you learn it in the country, the process is not that different, actually. Like, it
Yeah.
does require a lot of like active work. And so yeah, and it's tough. Like, the tones you said. I mean, I took one class of Mandarin in university, and the tones I thought were going to be more manageable. It's like, yeah, it's like pronunciation, like how it's like stress or something. How hard can it be? And then we got into the grammar of that, and like, okay, there's these four different tones, but then if you combine two third tones, then they have to become second tones or something. Like, there's this kind of formula for how tones can change, where a word in
Yeah.
isolation might be this one, but then in combination with another word, it becomes a different tone. And then I was like, how do people learn this? Like, this is this is insane. Like, this is so hard.
I mean, if I'm thinking about my friends, some of them are YouTubers, some of them are just expats that live here. They poured themselves into books and studying for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I've never really loved being a student. So I guess for me, like the idea of studying hours and hours didn't appeal to me. So I need to find a more organic way to learn as opposed to having a book. But I think having a proper book is quite useful.
Yeah, and I guess reading and writing is another challenge with Chinese because of the characters. There's no
Yeah.
alphabet that you can learn. Do you think that you would need to learn the characters to learn how to speak Chinese?
No, I think for me, I think if you're starting out, I think it's useful. I think for myself, I would say conversation would be the best way for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be nice to be able to read stuff, but when I think about my own language experiences, I like learning languages. I'm fascinated by them, but I don't read or write in almost any language, like English included. I'm not a reader. I'm more social than I am academic. And so I would rather have a conversation with someone than read something. And so, I mean, I guess I like read things online in English, so I guess that counts. But when I think of like other foreign languages, the reading and writing is pretty low on my list of priorities. And then if you look at like the difficulty of Chinese, for me personally, the temptation to not learn the characters would be really, really high.